What's going on, everybody? DB here in the house. Pat Perry, looking like you just freshly showered. Pat, did you just shower for this for the BMW
Yeah,
Championship?
I
You
did.
showered for the people.
I showered for the people.
Okay,
I like to
okay.
do that sometimes before the pod. It kind of gets me fresh and feeling good and awake. That kind of stuff. So
That's good.
I
That's good.
I do have to say I've got a Yeti tonight. I'm sorry. The ice is going to clink a little bit. I'm going to try my best not to clink ice,
Yeah, we
but
got a lot of pissed off people about the Yeti ice clinkings. I actually, since we're getting into that, I am loving this right here. Wild Leap Alpha Abstraction Double IPA. Like that just
mm,
looks dangerous.
I mean
That beer
extraction.
can.
Is this a abstraction or extraction?
Abstraction. I'm not
Okay.
sure. Double IPA is all I know. That's what it spells for me. So I ran out of my Wild Leap vodka, so I'm going Wild Leap Double IPA until I can get some more liquor. But ready to get
Nice.
into this, man. Ready to get into this. I probably
Yeah.
need some liquor uh, this week since my picks were so terrible last week, except for my write ups. My write ups I did good. The podcast, not so much. It was pretty bad for me, and just is what it is. But DJ ran away with it, 30 under, just obliterated everyone. Just put his testicles, his life giving sack all over the field, and just
Yeah.
drug them through the TPC Boston.
Did you see Kiz's quote where they asked him about like DJ and like what happens like has he ever seen? He's like, I've seen him play for like 20 something years, and I just know whenever he does something like this, I just know he's going to win, so I'm just going to try to pad my wallet the best I can. He basically just was like, if DJ's on like that, nobody has a shot, which obviously was the case.
Yeah, it was pretty remarkable. You did. I have to give you credit. You did talk
I
him
had
up
some, yeah, I had
in
some.
the and you had some great cash picks, but on the TJ After Dark show last week, presented by DraftKings, where I was hammered, you hit him at 20-1 on that show. So, and your cash picks were good. Now, FGS was pretty sucky,
Yeah,
except for you got
sucked.
the Rory call right.
I got their.
Did you actually fade Rory last week?
I did. I had
Oh,
zero
good for
Rory
you.
in a single lineup.
Good for you.
So
My pivot point article was 100%, 3 for 3.
it's good stuff.
So yeah, just be sure to remember, everybody, we got new content going to the website each and every week. Tuesday mornings, the 10 key stats. DJ was in 4 of the 10 last week. That's a pretty substantial number. 10 key stats come out every Tuesday morning. And then my betting card, at least my first look, kind of the names I'm looking at, mulling over, the approach that I think I'm taking to the week is going to come out on Tuesday afternoon. And then FGS will come out on Tuesday evening or probably Wednesday morning. And then I will finalize my betting card on Wednesday, as well as my new article, The Pivot Point, where I look at 3 or 4 popular golfers for the week that I think you could pivot elsewhere and get the same, if not better results, but for less ownership in tournaments. So that is the schedule of content coming out on the Tour Junkies website. So be sure and check that out each and every week. And if you haven't seen it already, check us out on the Dan Patrick radio channel on Sirius XM. I believe it's channel 211 on the Tony Bruno show every Wednesday at 4:20 p.m. For about 20 minutes, we're going to talk some golf, and it's a lot of fun. Tony Bruno is a blast. Harry Mays is a
Yeah.
blast. We're having a good time with it. A lot of good stuff going on there. P. Diddy, let's get into this. We got the second leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs here for the BMW Championship at Olympia Fields, and I got to say, I've seen some stuff on Instagram tonight. It looks beautiful. The course looks very well maintained. Our boy Kyle Peppers, caddies for Corey Connors, just sent us a screenshot from his yardage book, Pat. That is, did you see it? Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it yet. Now maybe now I
It
need
is
to look
the
at.
it is the par 3 8th hole, and he says, look at the back tee. It's 263 yards from the back tees. It is a par 3. So Kyle says that you and him would both hit a driver there. I said, well, you would hit driver and lob wedge, but yeah. That is a long golf hole for sure.
Wow.
Olympia Fields looks like a beast.
Yeah. And the rough looks up a little bit too. Just from
the
that
first
one
cut
picture.
looks great. First cut looks fine.
Yeah.
But that second cut, the second cut looks a little gnarly. So tell us about the golf course. What do we
Well,
need to know?
I mean,
Talk
so
about
you talk
that.
about the condition. I mean, Olympia Fields is a major championship style golf course. So you can only expect that the conditions are going to be good. We are just outside of Chicago in the suburbs this week here at Olympia Fields. This is the North course. So if you're searching, there's several courses here, and that's the one you're going to want to look at. It is a par 70 playing just over 7,300 yards, actually almost 7,350, and that's a beefy course for a par 70. So, I mean, that's long. We got 70 players this week, no cut. So that's important. We're going to kind of, if you're looking at strategy, we talk about this all the time. This is really just like a WGC type week because there's no cut. So in the GPPs, you're really going to have to differentiate yourself to have a good lineup that's going to win all the money. But this is just another, as we've really seen since the restart, just another old classical tree-lined golf course. The fairways out here are bent with POA mixed in. You've got Kentucky bluegrass rough. As we just mentioned, it's looking like the second cut is definitely pretty gnarly. The greens are bent. They say you'll see bent with POA a lot this week. We have actually already got some knowledge from a caddy that they say they definitely look bent to them.
He walked the course tonight.
Yeah. So that was just tonight. So not necessarily saying that they're putting like bent, but they look like bent. So
they probably are. Yeah.
So they probably are. And they're going to run really quick. I mean, if you looked at the media guide this week, they're going to run it around 12.5 on the stimp meter. That is pretty quick by tour standards. And there's a lot of undulation on these greens. So it's going to be interesting to see what these guys do. I think that approach is definitely an important thing this week. You got to keep it below the hole. You're not going to want to be above the hole with some, crazy undulating downhill putt. I think that's important for these guys. You've got 7 par 4s that all measure above 450 yards. That's definitely the meat of this golf course. And both par 5s are pretty long as well. One's playing 626, and that's actually, I think, the first hole. And then 606 is the second par 5. So that's long, both of them. They're not necessarily reachable for a lot of these guys. So that's important to look at. I think the scoring really is going to come from like holes 11 through 13 that have they're a little bit shorter par 4s right there with an easy par 3 in there. I think that might be a little stretch where you see some scoring. Looking at some quotes this week, though, I mean, this is not necessarily, the players, when they talk about it, they don't think you can just bomb it around this course. You really got to be pretty precise off the tee. Now, we haven't really seen the tour guys play here since, the 2003 U.S. Open. So a lot's changed since then. There's a lot of guys hitting it a lot further. But I still think with the tight tree lines and what their sight lines are going to be, that you can't just, bomb it your way around here. You're going to have to be pretty strategic off the tee, put yourself in a good spot in the fairway to give yourself a good angle into the greens. So I think it's a ball strikers course. What else? I mentioned approach as a stat I'm looking at. Definitely looking at form. You always see the guys in these FedEx Cup playoffs that are hot going into them. They play well in that first event, tend to kind of keep that streak going. So I like form a lot this week. I mentioned ball striking. I'm looking at par 4 scoring as I always do on par 70s, especially from that 450 to 500 yard range. And then, long-term stats from bent grass. I think that's something that's important to look at as well. I can give you past champions, but it doesn't really matter because we haven't been on this course. So whatever. I mean, if you want to look at, one kind of, recent event that some of these guys have played this course on was a 2015 U.S. Amateur, which DB's boy, Bryson DeChambeau, won back in 2015. So there you go. That is the course breakdown. DB, what did I miss? What do you want to add? What do you got? Has any caddy texted you or Instagrammed you in the middle of what I've just been talking about?
No. Another recent event is the NCAA has a tournament here most years, if not every year. Matt Wolf, Cameron Champ have won that. in the last few years. And then Morikawa, Victor Hovland, John Rahm, and Scotty Sheffler have also played in that event over the last few years and done pretty well. Yeah, to me, I still think, though, we're going to see good scores here. I don't think this is, it feels like a U.S. Open course. It's hosted a U.S. Open. I don't think it's quite set up for a U.S. Open right now where like a 10 under is going to win. I think it's going to be like a 16, 17, 18 under that's going to win this golf tournament.
Yeah, I agree. There's still going to be some scoring.
Yeah, to me, it feels a little like the PGA Championship. It feels a little bit like Harding Park to me. It's long. You got to be in the fairway, so long and accurate, which is obviously a deadly combination. But there are some courses on the PGA Tour where you can just be long and not accurate and get away with it. Here, it looks as though the rough will be penal enough that you're going to want to be in the fairway, and you want to be able to control your spin into these smaller greens, which you mentioned, that have a ton of undulation, and you want to make sure you're on the right level, you're on the right tier, you're below the hole, whatever that may be. So for that reason, you want to be in the fairway to have control of that spin. So, but it's freaking long. Like we've said that, like it's 7,300 yard par 70. So if you can be accurate in the fairway and long, then that's what I'm looking for. So similar to like a Morikawa kind of profile. Like Morikawa is not a short hitter. He's not a Brian Harmon. He's not a Zach Johnson off the tee. He's a little longer than that, but he's not, he's not even, he's definitely not like a Finau or a DJ or a Brooks, but he's probably not even close to maybe I don't know. Like, I mean, I think Hovland's longer than him, right? And Hovland's not a super bomber, but you need some length and you need to hit the fairways. And even some quotes from years past from these players talk about even being on the proper side of the fairway to have the right angle, that even if you're not on the proper side of the fairway, it's still tough to attack these pin locations. So it is all about positioning yourself on this course and then being able to navigate what we're seeing reported as rolling like bent grass greens for sure. So I'm kind of looking at strokes gained off the tee. I'm looking at strokes gained approach, as you mentioned. Definitely agree. Recent form being a big deal. And we see that every year in the FedEx Cup playoffs where you have, you need players who are riding it hot. Guys who just barely crept in here and they, maybe they earned all their FedEx Cup points earlier in the year, but lately they've sucked, but they earned enough earlier in the year that they're still in the top 70, but their form sucks right now, are probably, not going to be great guys to look at in a strong field where the course is going to have some challenges to it. But then again, it's a no cut event. So if you're playing DFS, you can play just about anybody. You can gain an edge a lot of different ways in terms of ownership. You're going to need to have the winner on your lineup, and you're going to need to have guys that are scoring, right? So it's not going to just be enough to have 6 guys that finish okay. One reason why I like to scale back, we talk about this all the time in terms of DFS. I'm not really playing my normal exposure this week in terms of DFS. I am going to go a little heavier on the betting side, which we're going to talk a little more, and especially sites like DraftKings have more on offer this week than they have normal weeks this early. So they're putting out more head-to-head matchups. We can talk through some of that tonight as well. One last thing I did want to mention, Pat. I want to ask you your opinion on this. So we talk about the Bubble Boys, right? And we talked about it for the last couple of weeks in terms of FedEx Cup Bubble Boys. How motivated are they? But let me pose this scenario to you. Let's say you are a Bubba Watson, who I think sits somewhere in the 60s right now. I don't have it in front of me. I think he's somewhere in the 50s or 60s. And let's say you're Bubba and you get off to somewhat of a sluggish start. Basically, your chances of finishing top 5 and earning a significant amount of FedEx Cup points required to get you into the top 30 are looking slim come Friday night, Saturday. Do you kind of think that there's a chance these guys somewhat mail it in or just get through it? And I say that because I looked at something this past week. The guy that moved up the most that made the biggest leap in the FedEx Cup standings this week was Kisner. He moved up 17 spots. He went from, let's see, where'd he come from? Where is he? I don't know where he is now, but he was outside. So he moved up 17 spots.
He's like 20 something.
He finished like runner up, didn't he? Didn't he finish runner up or third?
No, he got bumped out of third because English was second, and then Berger made that birdie putt on 18, so it bumped Kiz to fourth. So.
Okay, so even finishing fourth, he moved a maximum of 17 spots. Okay, so you got to be in the top 30 next week. Let's just say theoretically, and this is not an exact science here, and I'm sure Ben would love to like tell me how dumb this whole thing is. But that puts anyone outside the 47 range or even 50 range. Like, you got to have a really good week. If you're in the 50 range, you have to have a damn good week. Not only do you have to play well, but if you don't win, you have to finish probably top 5, and other people in front of you also have to suck. A lot of things have to fall in place. So all I'm saying is, are there certain players who, if they're outside that range and they just don't get off to the hot start that they want come Saturday morning, do you think they mail it in? No cut event, you get a paycheck regardless.
Depends. I think it depends.
There's not much of an off season coming into this. I mean, they're turning right back around the next week and starting with the Safeway, but then even the bigger names are going to be playing more because you got the U.S. Open, then the Masters. So I just wonder about that.
Here's why I say it depends. And we're obviously in the political season too. So, that sounds like kind of a wishy-washy type answer, but I mean, you got guys like that are in this, like, let's just, go in like to like Bubba, you mentioned he's 58th. So Bubba could be a guy who's been on tour a long time, whatever else, has all the wins that, whatever, major championships. I could see he being like, just kind of, I wouldn't say he would withdraw, but just kind of going, cowboying up over the weekend, not really caring and just trying to whatever, get home as quick as he can to his family. That's the kind of, like, Bubba is like a bad example to me for that, because he's a family man type guy. Like, you can see he can be so just out there on the golf course.
Yeah,
but you just don't know what.
That's why I chose him, because he's on that line. He's a good player. He putts well on bent, and he's actually rounding into a little bit of form here lately. Like, he's long. So it's just one of those things that you kind of stop and think about. Like, so for me, it's like, well, do I look at a player that far out and think, dang, like, if they don't really come out swinging, it's going to be tough. Maybe something to just think about for Showdown, if you play Showdown and you want to think about that.
Yeah. I think most of these guys, though, are going to be trying their best to try to go low. You think of a guy like JT Poston or somebody like that. They can just, if they happen to have a good week, can get into that top 30. I mean, all these guys want to be in that top 30 regardless. Joel Damon, the guys on the, who's, Damon's in 41st. I mean, he's got a good shot if he has a good week to make it into that top 30.
See, he's close enough to me, though, that I don't think my logic applies there. I'm talking about the guys in the 50s and beyond. You have got to finish top 5. If you are 50 and beyond.
Kuchar is a guy that I might not want to be on just because he's 55th. He hadn't really been playing all that great. And just, I don't know, maybe he doesn't care, right now, and he just wants to get home to the family or whatever. Kuchar kind of is blah to me. I don't really, but some of these other guys, though, I mean, I don't know. It's a tough question, but
I'm not saying I really fall on one side of it or the other, but it was something that I just started thinking through, like, is that a possibility? Is that something that certain players, especially veteran players like the ones we just mentioned, Bubba and Kuchar, who don't really, the difference in the money for this event, being if they finish T48th versus T68th, that doesn't really matter to them if they come out Friday and they're not even sniffing the top 5. You know what I mean? Like, I could see them just going.
I mean,
whatever.
They're still all competitive as hell. And I mean, look at Louis Oosthuizen. I mean, he was on the outside looking in. He had to make birdie on his 18th hole. He was in the second or third to last group. I guess he was second because DJ and them were waiting on him. And he's just looking at his yardage book. And he put his heart and soul into trying to just 2-putt, because he had an eagle putt on 18 because he knew if he made it, somebody must have told him that if he made it, he was going to be 70th and he was going to make it into the next event. I mean, he grinded like crazy just for that. And he's a veteran on tour. So, I mean, I don't know. All these guys are pretty daggum competitive. So we'll see. But
Okay.
it's an interesting theory.
Just something I wanted to pontificate about, as we will have a more relaxed version of pontification with Pat at the end of tonight's show, which I'm very excited about. Pat, before we get on to the picks, we'd like to thank our friends at Chill Boys. We've been talking about them. It's our new undies that we like. In fact, I just bought my nasty teenager who's freaking 16 and he's disgusting and he doesn't take proper care of himself. And we look, we're folding laundry and we see holes all in his drawers and he doesn't tell anybody anything. We're like, hey man, you could have said, hey, my underwear look like freaking Swiss cheese. And we could have said, oh, okay, we'll buy you some new ones because that's disgusting. But no, that he's a 16-year-old boy. He doesn't care. So I've just ordered him some Chill Boys. And I said, you know what? You thank dad later. Thank dad later and be thankful that dad is a huge mega podcast star and I can get these Chill Boys for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can understand what it's like at a young age because, in my day, Pat, and I know in your day, we didn't have an anti-chafing zone.
No.
You just fucking dealt with it. You sacked up, no pun intended, and you just dealt with that stuff, And now I'm about to have my 16-year-old getting his anti-chafing on and his everything just caressed and held like a silk straight jacket around his package from the Chill Boys.
Spoiled 16-year-old, just so spoiled to get the anti-chafing zone. I mean, we walked miles and miles to school with no anti-chafing zone.
Yeah, dude, do you remember? Yeah, I'm not gonna get into that, but yeah, we did not have that. But I'm just saying, if you need some fresh new undies, or somebody that needs some fresh new undies, not in a weird way, but they just know for whatever reason, then you should consider going to our friends at Chill Boys, chillboys.com to check out their line of cool, soft boxers and boxer briefs. You can use promo code Tour Junkies and save 15% off your first order. Everything in your order, 15% off. Again, head over to chillboys.com. Use promo code Tour Junkies. Save that 15% off. Thank you. Thank us and thank you for thanking us in the future for getting some Chill Boys around your Grundle area because you will not regret taking care of that. That's some business that you got to take care of. And the bamboo they got, the bamboo ball wrapper that they put in that thing is just sweet. So
it's a good deal.
Thanks, Chill Boys, for hooking it up. Let's get into the DraftKings portion of tonight's podcast. And then we're going to come back and hit some betting picks, talk through what we like there. All right, top of the market, Mr. DJ, Mr. 30 under, 11.5, all the way down to at $9,000 on DraftKings. Scotty Sheffler, who I had at 55-1, and I thought may had a chance on Sunday, but no. I lost by 15 shots. Pat, 3 GPP plays, a cash play, and a fade. I'll let you start tonight. I normally start at the top. I'll let you go tonight.
Well, I'm happy with that. All right, so I am going to start with Mr. Justin Thomas at 10-8. Going back on the train with him, he was around 8% owned last week in tournaments, which I think was it turned out where if you played him, it wasn't that great anyway. But I just think that Justin Thomas this is a good course for him. He's definitely checking all the boxes. I mean, he's second in ball striking, second in approach. He's third in par 4 scoring. Obviously, we know he can get the ball. He kind of fits that combo you mentioned of a little bit of accuracy but distance. I mean, he's 14th in the field in driving distance, top 30 in fairways gained. So, I mean, he can hit the fairways. I mean, I just think JT. And I hope I get him at lower ownership. Now, it's going to be not as spread out as it was last week, obviously, in a bigger full field event. But I don't know. We'll see in where we are as far as these guys, with Webb right there. Rory's definitely going to be low owned. But I love JT this week. I think he's a good play. So I will play him first at 10-8. I also like Kyla Morikawa. You mentioned him earlier at 9,500. I think he is a good play. A guy that's just, well, obviously he won on a course that you just correlated to this one, which is TPC Harding Park.
Yeah.
And, he's coming off of a bad week. I'm hoping I get, again, a little bit lower ownership on Kyla Morikawa. Let's see where he was last week. He's like 15% owned, so it wasn't that bad. I think it'll be maybe around that range again this week with a shorter field, but I still like some Morikawa at 9,500. Checking the box and ball striking, approach, also that par 4 scoring number, and he's second in the field in driving accuracy, so I do like that as well. And then Scotty Sheffler, he's just so hot. I mean, his form is just incredible right now. He's scoring. He's doing everything you need to do. You're getting him at 9,000. I mean, I cannot not play Scheffler in a field where he's, again, he's just still competing with all these guys, playing extremely well. I don't know. We'll see what happens with his caddy. His caddy went down last week on Sunday. Yeah. I'm assuming he's okay. But I like Scheffler at 9,000. Another guy checking a lot of boxes, driving distances. I mean, he's 15th in the field. He's 22nd in par 4 scoring. So I like Scheffler at 9,000. My cash play, which I'm not going to really do a whole lot of cash this week. So you could probably, if you want to just take this as a GPP as well, is Xander Schauffele at 9,900. I like him this week. Also, another guy that checks some boxes. He is in good form. So I like some Xander this week. My fade is going to be Rory again. We're just not seeing anything good out of Rory. No good finishes. His driving is not very good right now. I mean, that's really what's killing him. And he might just have to pull the driver out of the bag because it's just not very good. I mean, he's 53rd in the field in driving accuracy. He's 65th in that par 4 scoring from 450 to 500 yards. If you watched him, which I did a lot because I watched some of that morning, because that's what he was in the group with Tiger both days on Saturday and Sunday. If you were watching the featured group, and he did not look good at all. He was all over the freaking place. And I don't know how much he's into it right now. I almost feel like he's just kind of ready for a little bit of a break and then the US Open and that. So we'll see. Probably going to, I mean, if you want to play him from an ownership standpoint, I could see that because he might be one of the lower owned. You might be getting Rory at as low owned as he's ever been this week, but I'm still going to fade him. I don't like him. So there you go.
Yeah, it's tough. I think Rory and my fade, Bryson. I was on Bryson last week and he burned me. So here I am getting off of him. But, when you get into it, obviously the distance is there, strokes getting off the tee, but dang, man, like his irons are just not good. And it is frustrating as all get out to watch his irons be so bad. And they've been inconsistent. I mean, since the restart, he's lost strokes on approach, pretty regularly since he won the Rocket Mortgage. He won the Rocket Mortgage losing strokes gained approach, but he gained 8 on the putting green. But since the Rocket, he's only gained strokes with his irons in one event, and that's the PGA. So it's not been good for him and not consistent. So I think if there's a name to fade in this top kind of range, I'll go with that. But I like a lot of guys here. Like I could easily, every guy in the 9K range, honestly, other than, I mean, to me, the Bryson and Rory for the reasons we just mentioned. And then, and I know I said this last week at the Northern Trust that I said was such a bomber's course and he still finished 6th. And Webb is definitely immune to a bomber's course. He can still go play. I still think if I had to gamble on it, I would fade him. But there's really not anybody in this 9K range I think is just a terrible play. So if you feel convicted on him, on them, you do that. So my cash play and probably my favorite GPP play is Xander, as you mentioned. Love the ball striking ability. Love the irons right now, the form. This is his time of year. He thrives in this FedEx Cup limited field stuff. He loves it. He soaks it up. So I think Xander is a play. I love Morikawa as well. Like I said, PGA Championship. This just seems to fit Morikawa really well. It seems to feel a little bit like Harding Park in terms of how it's laid out, in terms of difficulty, needing to be long and accurate. And then I'm going to go back to Berger. I'm just going to eat all the chalk, I guess, up here, but it's going to be hard not to in this range. But the way Daniel Berger's striking the ball right now is incredible. And I'll just keep going back until it burns to the ground. But I've rode him since the restart, and I'm not getting off right now. And that's kind of those guys are all in that little 9K range, and you don't really see me going up top a whole lot. I think if I were to go up top, I might go up there to Rom, but I like those guys. I like those names in that range the most. So that's where I'm gonna go.
I hear you. I mean, all these guys, I agree. I mean, it's hard to necessarily zero in and fade.
Very hard to fade.
But I also don't mind eating it if there is chalk up here, which there is. I don't mind eating it either, and then just finding a differentiator somewhere else. I mean,
now here's a name though that I do want to talk about before we move on. At 9,200, Jason Day, who everyone was on last week in the Northern Trust. He was one of the more popular plays at the Northern Trust. He was owned around 21%. He lost 6.5 strokes with his irons in the 2 rounds at the Northern Trust. Lost 2 strokes putting, which sent him trunk slamming. Now, we have not seen that kind of a poor iron performance since the BMW last year at a different golf course, but that was the last time we saw it. Before that, the irons were very solid. The off the tee game has remained solid. His prowess around the greens and on the greens has been solid. Burning that many people, at 9,200 in a no-cut event, it's that one I could see. Like if he ends up being projected as one of the lower players in this range, that may be a really interesting move late on Wednesday to make in terms of tournament plays. So
I could see him being the pop the cork on the fantasy golf sommelier. We'll see.
I could see him being a pivot point play from somebody popular.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Right there around him. All right, 8K and above range. He killed me last week. A lot like Jason Day, he killed 30% on average. 30% had Tony Finau last week and watched him just not putt,
including me.
It was his worst putting performance since the Arnold Palmer, worst putting performance by a long shot since the restart came back. He still hit the ball well. He still hit the ball just fine, but he just didn't make a putt. I am willing to get back on Tony Finau after that. When someone owned 30, as chalky as 30%, goes home early, but then he checks all these other boxes right now, and the form is definitely there. Like, I am very willing to reinvest in this no-cut event and believe that he figures it back out on the putting green and it turns around. I'm going to go back on Tony Finau. I love him here. And then where I'm going next, and it's Hideki. He continues to just top 30, top 20, and he scores along the way. Like, the ball striking is there. I don't know. His better putting surfaces of late have been bent grass over Bermuda. He's always been a little better on bent. He's just been consistent. Like, he's striking the ball. Now, and I would roll with him in cash. And then my fade is going to be Tiger. Back-to-back events. He hasn't shown us anything since the restart. I don't really see a lot right now. I don't see it. So I'm out on Tiger. That's incredible analysis, I know, but I'm not there. So that's it.
Well, interesting. Okay, well, since that's where you stopped, then I'll go ahead and start with one of my GPP plays, and that is Tiger Woods. And this is the first time we are getting him playing back-to-back events since the restart, which I actually kind of like. I think this is a good spot for him playing back-to-back. And
why? That doesn't make any sense.
Because for one, I like what I saw out of him Sunday. He played extremely well on Sunday. Last week. Now, he's not shooting 10 under like freaking DJ was and whatever else, but I still like what I saw. I think he's a type player that needs to play actually more. I don't think, he's necessarily needs to just skip like 3 events in a row.
Did you time warp back to 2002? No, he doesn't. He needs to keep this thing going as long as he can. And the way he does that is rest and not overcook it. He's got
that's fine. That's fine. But we're probably going to get low ownership again on Tiger. He's still striking the ball well. I think this is a good course for him. I'm all in on Tiger this week at 8,600. I think it's a great price. I think you're gonna get low ownership on him. He putts well on bent grass greens. He loves the fast undulation. We've seen it at the Masters and whatever else. So I don't see why you wouldn't play Tiger. I might have 100% Tiger this week.
By the way, the putter has not been good. I just now kind of started looking at that. The flat stick has been what's holding him back pretty consistently.
Which we know can change at any time too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you watch him, I watched him a lot last week. He hit some incredible iron shots, some good drivers. He felt like he was in control of his game. And you're right, he missed some putts, but that can come at any time. And if we're going to keep getting them at low ownership, which we are, there's no like public money anymore. I don't want to hear any public money.
No, he's not going to be high owned. He's not going to be high owned.
So, I mean, I'll take him at 86. It's not like he didn't just, win a couple tournaments last year. I mean, the guy's still, playing well amongst, even in strong fields. I mean, he hasn't had the finishes yet, but that's fine. I'm okay with that. So I will play him in GPPs, which I think if anything, when you get him in 4 rounds in a no cut event at low ownership, why not play him? I mean, I'm a big fan of Tiger at 8,600. I like him. I'm also a big fan of Victor Hovland at 8,100. He's another guy.
I do like Hovland.
I think that for one is I think a little bit too cheap for him. He definitely checks a ton of boxes. He's
when you think about long and accurate. Like that's perfect for Vic Young Hove.
So
he's gonna be chalk, but I like it. I
think he will be, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, you got Casey right there. That could, who knows? I like Hovland.
Victor Hovland.
Cash play is Harris English because why the hell not?
Is he not an ATM right now? Like the dude is just That Bulldog, man, he has turned it on. His form is incredible.
It's so good, and he's hitting the ball extremely well. I mean, he really is. So Harris English is my cash play. My fade, because I'm just absolutely effing done with him, is Patrick Cantlay at 89.
I told you that last week. Last week, you're like, I'm going on Cantlay. I'm like, well, all right. It is frustrating, man, because that dude is so talented, and it's going to come. It's coming right back. We need to do a "What's Wrong With" segment on Patrick Cantlay. I don't know. He needs a Mai Tai or something. He just something's.
But we haven't seen anything. I mean, you go back to the Memorial T32, T35 at WGC St. Jude, which is a short event, so that's basically middle of the pack. 43rd at the PGA. He barely made the cut, by the way. And then he misses the cut last week. I mean, he just doesn't have it there. And if you want to talk about form going into these playoff events, he's a guy that's, I mean, I don't know what his FedEx Cup standings points are.
He's 37th right now. Yeah, he's 37th. So he's got to have a decent week.
It's just not there for him right now. So, and then you're going to pay 8,900 for him. I'd rather play Reed or go to Finau, like you just said.
Man, I tell you what, though, like when you look at it, when you look at his projections, like already, he's projected to be like sub 10%, and he's such a good player. He's a world-class player. We know that. We just haven't seen it. We just haven't seen it since the restart. But then you look at his putting splits over his career. He is like 5 times better on bent grass than his next best surface, which is POA.
He is good on bent.
Very good on bent grass. And then like look at last week at the Northern Trust. He wasn't terrible at anything except for putting. He was terrible at putting, but that's kind of his MO. He's not a great putter. He was just like flat with everything else. He was just basically neutral, wasn't gaining strokes, wasn't losing strokes on the field with everything else. And what we know about Patrick Cantlay is usually off the tee and approach throughout, since he kind of got back on tour, he has just been so solid off the tee and with his irons. So at any moment, if that comes back, I don't know, it kind of feels like Jason Day. Like, think about the caliber of player, if you can get him sub 10%, in a no-cut event where you got to have a lot of ownership leverage with tournaments like this in DFS, it's an interesting play. It honestly, in events like this, it's almost like I feel like there's no point in us making picks on a Monday night. I almost just feel like that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And I hate it. I hate that that's the case. But
the thing that just popped into my mind, though, is because I'm looking down the list of all the 8K guys, and when I was doing my research, you could make lineups of all 8K guys.
You can do that every week, right, Pat?
I'm just saying you could do it, and I feel like you could have a really good chance to win a GPP with that this week.
Who knows? Like, me and you hadn't won a GPP in a minute, so it ain't. I don't know, but all I know is, like, in events like this, it just feels like you wait until where ownership comes, because I'm not playing anything that's not a large GPP this week, because I just don't. I'm going to embrace the variability and the 70 players, and try to make a unique lineup that's got a lot of guys with upside that pop, but I can get some leverage on. So I don't know. I feel like guys like Cantlay, guys like Jason Day are close. And if you can get them low owned in a no cut event where you need a lot of leverage in DFS, it's worth a shot. But again, why the crap are we talking about this now? I don't know.
Hey, but I'm going to let you go do the 7K range. I got to run a quick errand here, and you start, and I'll be back.
You're going to run an errand? Okay.
No, not an errand. I'll be right back.
Okay. While Pat is doing that, actually, I will gladly talk about one of our new favorite things to do, and that is use some holistic CBD wellness. That's right. Holistic CBD wellness. Incredible company. The one CBD company that I've seen that does this, right? They have their pop, pour, and stir sticks. Okay. Pop, pour, and stir sticks, which is very easy. Okay. So Holistic Wellness has a CBD product that targets stress, sleeplessness, all these things that you're facing. Maybe you're on the golf course, you're stressed because your golf game sucks. Or here's a classic one. Oh, I went to the range last week. I found it on the range. I found it. And then I go out on the course and I shoot like 105. And then I can't sleep the next night because I'm thinking about it. Get you a little Holistic CBD stick and just pop that bad boy, pour it into any beverage, stir it up, get you a good night's sleep. Or take the stress one in the middle of the golf round. You're in the middle of the golf course and your partner, Pat, maybe, for example, can't hit the ball and maybe he's like topping 3 woods and he's shanking pitching wedges, and you're stressed because you paid a lot of money to play in this member guest and you really want to play well. You just, when he's not looking, you just pop and pour a little Holistic CBD stick into your water or your beer or whatever, any liquid beverage, anything that's liquid, not a solid or gas, but just a liquid. Pop that bad boy, drink that thing, and it's amazing. So whether you need help maximizing sleep, waking up refreshed, if you want to loosen up the body a little bit, you drink it. You can drink it fast, or you can keep it in there, kind of just sip on it. Whatever you want to do. We are thrilled to have Holistic partner with us for a couple months now. They've committed. They love the TJ Nation, and they want to offer us some good stuff. They offer an array of these water-soluble CBD wellness products, and the soluble water stuff is a unique formula. This is what's important. It's a water-soluble hemp extract collected from greenhouse-grown hemp, making it very clean and trackable from seed to stick. All right. And so the water-soluble stuff and other natural ingredients in the stick let the body better identify and utilize the active ingredients and deliver faster results than oil-based stuff. It's very, very, very much faster than the oil-based stuff. So it's good stuff. You can use it for the sleep. There's a sleep, a stress, recover, a digest if you need to digest a little better, and beauty, which also men should use. Seriously, it's very good. So it's basically those 5 sub-brands separated by a couple of natural ingredients. One stick works in the moment. It's super easy to do. Just visit Holistic Wellness. That's Holistic with a K, HOLISTIK, wellness.com. Enter promo code TJ25, TJ25 for 25% off your order, their products at Holistic Wellness, Holistic with a K, holisticwellness.com. Really pumped to talk to those guys. Chip McDaniel, Monday qualifier, tour grinder, star in the making. Chip McDaniel discovered Holistic and absolutely loved it. and he's kind of turned us on to this. We're probably going to have Chip on the show here pretty soon, but he loves it. Works for him on the golf course. We thought, you know what, it'd probably be good for our folks too. So check it out. I know Pat's using he's already used all of his sticks, right? You don't have any sticks left. You're getting some more.
I have some left. I used all of the recovery sticks because we all know that I thought recovery meant like recovering from hangovers. I didn't realize it was like recovery from, other stuff, but it works, and it worked quick. So
nice. It does. Let's get into the 7K range. I'll make this is pretty quick and dirty for me. My cash play and probably my favorite tournament play is Ryan Palmer. He ranks extremely well at strokes gained approach. Birdies are better. He's chipping the ball, scrambling around the greens really nicely. Finished 8th at the Northern Trust. Hits it plenty long. Has just been playing really, really solid. Like, he's not a great putter. He's never going to be a great putter, but man, he's playing really solid. He is 5th in this field in the last 24 rounds, 5th in the field in strokes gained approach. This is a really solid field to be 5th in approach at $7,600. So I like Ryan Palmer a lot. He's 22nd in the FedEx Cup standings, looking to make maybe his first trip ever to East Lake, but definitely this first one in a long time if he's been. So, he needs a solid week, and I think he's probably as motivated as anybody out there, and I like the price at $7,600. A guy that I'm going to go back to, similar to Finau, who also ticked a lot of people off last week. In fact, about 23%. Abraham Answer. I'm going to go back to old Abe. He's not short. I mean, he's not long. That's probably one of the only knock on Abe. Not a lot of distance. He's a very wee little boy, wee little man. Okay. Very nice man. I would love to sample some of his fine tequila, but he is very small and does not generate a lot of club head speed. So it doesn't hit far, but he is very accurate and checks the box there, checks the box in strokes gained approach. And, it's been playing solid. Just, miscut last week, blip on the radar. But he's a talented dude. When we talk to caddies like week in and week out, like they repeatedly talk about how good Abraham Answer is. And I think he can come here, compete, and do really well at 7,700. I think he's going to throw a lot of people off the ownership number because of what happened last week. And then finally, a guy that I came onto late last week, and I had him in some lineups, and he did really well, Jason Kokrak. Finished 13th last week at the Northern Trust, 15th at the Wyndham before that. Man, he's checking a ton of ball striking boxes over the last 24 rounds. 8th in strokes gained off the tee, 11th in distance, 31st in strokes gained approach, 32nd in birdies or better gained in this field all over the last 24 rounds. And that's it, $7,500 for Kokrak. With that, I mean, he was 4% owned last week. 4. He doesn't putt very well, but he putts okay on bent surfaces. Iron play last week, gained 4.5 shots last week with his irons. Really liking Kokrak. And then my fade is going to be a guy that you absolutely love to play, Pat. I'm going to fade Alex Noren. Yes, Alex Noren, because he is sustaining everything with that freaking flat stick. That is how he is doing it. In his last 3 events where he's finished 8th, 19th, and 3rd, he gained 5.2, 3.5, and 6.9 strokes putting. Can't hit his irons. Doesn't do much off the tee. Scrambles and putts his Norwegian dick off. I don't know if he's Norwegian. What is he? What is he? I don't even know. Do you know?
Do I still have you? You keep talking about him. And
anyway, the ball striking is terrible. The putting regression has to come at some point. Swedish. His Swedish dick off. I want to fade Alex Noren in honor of you is what I want to do. So that's the 7K range.
I only heard 2 GPP plays, or did you give one was your GPP
answer Kokrak and Palmer. Palmer cash, GPP, whatever.
All right, so I got Palmer as a cash play, but let's just go quickly here because I'm with you on Palmer. He was one of he was my cash play, but I could play him as a GPP as well. Kokrak I had also, which I was a little surprised you mentioned him, but I'm glad that we were.
He's been playing so good. He checks all the if you run a model, he's gonna pop.
Yeah, he is. Answer was actually my fade. And here's the thing. I mean, he's just not really in great form. I mean, you look at his last few events, but other than the top 15 at the WGC in a short field event, so maybe he'll do that again this week. I don't know. It hasn't been all that great. I think there's a little something wrong with old Abe, and I'm not ready to play him again. So I will fade him at 7,700. I just think it's just there's something off with him right now. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe we could get some caddy information on him and bring that into the Nut Hut later in the week. I don't know, but I'm not a fan of Answer. I mentioned he will be my fade. I like Noren again.
Of course you do. Yeah.
You can't look. It's like Shakira. Hips don't lie. Hips don't lie. Hips don't lie.
That is not the melody of that.
I don't know. I can't say. Form don't lie. Form don't lie. He is in good form, and I don't care what the stats say. He putts extremely well on bent. He's 7th in the field in putting on bent grass green. So if you just want to talk about the putting in general, he checks a box there. I don't mind the price at 7,900. Again, you're right. Some of the iron play is not going to show up. Everything else, it doesn't matter. He is in good form, and he is scoring. I like Alex Noren. I will play him this week.
Noren.
So there you go. And then a guy that I just feel like this is a gut play a little bit, but he's coming off of a top 20 last week, and that is Cam Smith at 7,300.
Whoa. Wow, I did not see that coming.
I'm going to play some Cam Smith. I like him this week. He's 5th in the field in that par 4 scoring range from 450 to 500 yards out. 32nd par 4 scoring in general. He is top 40 in strokes gained approach. I like some Cam Smith this week. I think he's a good sort of out there, going to be super low owned. He'll probably be like 2 or 3% owned. And that's what I'm trying to find this week anyway. I mean, because we could talk about the Brendan Todds and the Russell Henleys and whoever else in the 7K range that everybody else might be talking about. I'm trying to find you a different differentiator, and that's going to be Cam Smith this week at 7,300.
So let's make a bet on Noren.
Okay.
Where do you think he finishes?
I bet he finishes in let's just look at his last 3 events. T3, T19, T8. Okay, I bet he finishes T20. I bet T20. T20 or better.
Great. I love that bet. I will take the over there. So T20 or better, you win. T21 or worse, I win. And the loser has to prank call Eastlake next week and try to set up a tee time to play during the FedEx Cup finals and act like you have no idea why that can't happen. And you have to video it.
Yeah.
You have to video it.
I like that.
Prank call Eastlake. Okay. Alex Noren is what it's about.
That's a good one.
I feel good about that. I've lost every prop
You've
bet.
Lost every single bet.
Since before the pandemic hit. Yeah. The last time I won a prop bet, no one had even heard of a you couldn't even spell pandemic. The last time I won a prop bet. But I feel good about this one.
Okay.
Gotta feel good about this one. All right, 6K. I got 4 guys. I'm going back to the well with Brendan Steele. Like the way he's playing, like the way he's striking the ball right now. He's a scorer when he's hot. He's 45th in the FedEx Cup rankings, kind of right on that little bubble if you wanna look at that. 16th in the field in strokes gained approach over the last 24 rounds. I like Brendan Steele. I like your boy Dylan Fratelli, who we've had on this podcast before. He's actually playing pretty good, and I was actually surprised to see how he ranks in a couple of things. Birdies are better. He's 34th in the field over the last 24 rounds. So that surprised me a little bit. I didn't think he was that kind of a scorer. I mean, I know he's been finishing well outside of the missed cut last week at the Northern Trust, but I like his off the tee game. He's very accurate, decent length, not super long, not super short. He's kind of like a South African Abe Answer, except maybe in better form. So I like Dylan Fratelli. I don't know how you don't like Joel Damon. I mean, I know everybody's like rolling their eyes because that's our boy, but at that price, at 6,500, he's 41st in the FedEx Cup points, trying to get to his first ever East Lake trip. plays well on tough golf courses or tougher golf courses, long and accurate off the tee that, you don't necessarily have to hit it 100,000 yards, I think suits well for Joel. So I'm going to go with Joel. And then a guy that does hit it pretty far off the tee and just popped a little bit of form just this last week, and it's 6,300 in a no-cut event. Danny Lee interests me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't played Danny Lee in a long time, but when you look at his form, he's very consistent. But Danny Lee pops, and when he gets hot, and he's won on the PGA Tour before, people. Like, he's won. But he's 17th in this field in driving distance, 17th in this field in birdie or better over the last 24 rounds, 18th place finish at the Northern Trust. I think Danny Lee's interesting at 6,300. If you don't have to deal with a no cut, you have some upside there with Danny Lee. So Brendan Steele, Fratelli, Damon, and Lee for me.
I don't mind the Danny Lee call. I think that's definitely a bold one, and he surprises me with his distance because he can hit it out there. He's got some.
Yeah, he can move it.
All right, I'll start here with I like Brian Harmon up at the top at 6,900. I think he's a good play this week. Look, he's not gonna strike your fancy when it comes to the distance all that much, but we talked about being able to hit fairways in the right spots and sort of and give yourself a good look at these greens and be able to attack them from the right areas. He's definitely accurate off the tee. I do like that. He's coming off of a T11 finish last week. I think Harmon could be a good play. I think he's certainly going to be low owned. Nobody's going to want to play Brian Harmon. They're going to automatically, they just think Brian Harmon, short guy, short knocker, whatever else. I'm not buying it this week. So I'm a fan of Harmon. He is also first, by the way, in scrambling, which I do think is kind of an outlier for me. We haven't even mentioned that hardly that much, but these are pretty small greens this week. So these guys are going to miss them. And so the fact that he's first in scrambling kind of pops a little bit for me. And he's also checking the box in par 4 scoring as well. So I like Harmon at 6,900. And I like Taylor Gooch at 6,600, a guy that kind of came on sort of late last week.
Love Gooch. I always love Gooch.
Yeah, look,
Sounds
across
weird.
the board.
I always like Taylor Gooch.
Checking the box and approach. He's third in the field in par 4 scoring from 450 to 500 yards. Obviously, he's been in pretty good form. Let's look at his last few events. He was T18 last week, T25 at the Wyndham, missed the cut at the PGA, but then had a top 20 finish at the 3M Open. So, he's been playing well lately. So I am a fan of Gooch. He will be my other GPP play in this range. Outside of that, I don't know. We'll see. Hit us up in the Nut Hut chat for some of these 6K guys. We always, the people in the chat, which I love everybody in the chat. Love you all. They want to hear some 6K guys. So we're going to bring that in the hut.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. All right, let's talk a little sports book for the BMW Championship. We got some outrights, top 10s. Listen, I looked at the top 20s on offer there on DraftKings Sportsbook. I just can't do it. Because it's such a limited field, obviously, and you got 70 players and they're given top 20 numbers, your longest odds were on Jim Herman at 9-1. I can't pull the trigger on a top 20 when that's my longest option. So I don't have any of those, but I have some outrights, some top 10s that I'm starting to look at. There are head-to-heads out early today, so I was able to look at some head-to-head options. And I do have a top Euro bet, Pat. There's a top Euro option on DK Sportsbook right now, and I'll actually start with that one. Your top European, Victor Hovland at 6-1. Now he's up against John Rahm, Rory, Tyrrell Hatton, Paul Casey, Fitzpatrick, and Alex Storm Norman from Sweden. Hips don't lie. But I like Hovland at 6-1 here. I feel like he's playing better than everybody here except for maybe Rahm. Hatton's played pretty okay, but I think this place suits Hovland's game a little better. I think if he beats Rahm, he's there in terms of current form. Definitely, Rory's something to be factored in, but Hovland at 6-1, that kind of gets me a little bit. It gets me in my special spot.
Wow. I actually looked at that as well. I would actually, now we've already done a bet tonight, but if we were going to do a bet and we were going to do a European bet, I would go Hatton over Hovland, even though I do like Hovland as well. And I just mentioned him, but I feel like Hatton might be another one.
That is very
I don't know.
strange.
That's really close for me. That's
It's very
really
strange
close
that you
between
would
those
not
two.
mention Hatton on the show during the DFS portion, and then now you want to take him over Hovland.
Yeah, things change.
Okay.
Things change rapidly on the podcast.
Okay. In the outright market, if I had to go small ball here, Xander at 17-1 is something I'd look at. And although it doesn't get me going, Morikawa at 26-1, I start to kind of get I go to like a roll of quarters, I'm just thinking about it a little bit at 26-1. I start to get a little hot and heavy at Hideki at 41-1, which is weird. And then in that range, you got Hovland, who I just mentioned, at 45-1. This range, it starts kind of happening for me. That's I think your winners are going to come from these, that mid tier range or shorter. As we mentioned, the cream rising to the top here. Also, Ryan Palmer at 70-1. We talked about him extensively on the DFS, in terms of DFS, but he's just in fantastic form. He hits it a long way. He's where is he? He's 22nd in the FedEx Cup. He's got to have a solid week to play next week and get to East Lake, which he doesn't have a whole lot of opportunities to be at East Lake. So I think he's motivated. Almost won Memorial. I can always talk myself into some Ryan Palmer for whatever reason, but lately it's been good. It's been good. 70-1 there. In terms of long shots, like really long shots, I mean, Kokrak at 100-1. Brendan Steele at 110-1, both playing well, both striking the ball quite well. Those are big numbers for guys that are in good form, that are that check the boxes in terms of distance, in terms of strokes gained off the tee, strokes gained approach. Kokrak's not really a winner. We've not really seen Kokrak ever win anything, but he's 100-1. Like, throw a little quarter unit on that, call it a day. So that's about it for me in the outright market. I mean, I could see that Decky, Hovland, Palmer trio kind of being an anchor to my betting card for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you look at this, as far as making picks, I mean, we were right there together. I mean, the three top guys I mentioned, or I was going to mention here, were Hideki at 40 or 41-1 on DraftKings, which is just a weird number. I'm just going to say 40-1, Hovland at 45-1, and then Palmer at 70-1 were kind of my three guys that I really like. I like Patrick Reed at 35-1. I think that's just a good number for a guy like him of his caliber. And then I think Gooch, if you're going really long, at 150-1, I think is a decent play as well. So I'll look at that also. But outside of that, there's not a whole lot right now that I'm really looking at. But
I guess if you're going to get and I think we've seen that a little bit, if you're going to have a big event like this, it's a playoff event that is, full of really, really, really world-class players with, it's possible that a young guy with no win on the PGA Tour, like a Taylor Gooch, could come up, and if it's going to happen, it's more likely to happen when there aren't any fans. We already talked about, we already saw Morikawa talk about when he won the PGA, how he felt like it was easier. He thinks it was a little easier being without fans. We've had other players mention, I think Paul Casey said the same thing, that it was a little easier possibly for these young guys, these inexperienced guys, to come down the stretch and pull out a win without fans. Because I look at a guy like Taylor Gooch, I'm like, man, I mean, I love Gooch as much as the next guy. Trust me. Okay. But the odds of him winning this event are very, very bad. But if he were ever going to, it would be when there aren't fans around, I think,
Yeah. No, I hear you there.
Top 10 bets. I got three of those. I mentioned two of them on the show. The first one is Danny Lee, 14-1. Danny Lee finished 18th last week, hits the ball a long way, kind of a streaky player and he's had a couple of decent finishes here lately. And he's a winner on the PGA Tour. It's been a while, but he's a winner on the PGA Tour. And he's a streaky guy. 14-1 is the biggest number I could find on a guy that I was halfway comfortable with a top 10. Max Homa at 12-1, I think is another really interesting play for a top 10. Great ball striker, plenty long. I think we'll come out here with kind of that attitude of like, I don't know. I just feel like his attitude is always so great. At any moment, he could turn it on. Form hasn't been great in the last couple of weeks, but I think he could do it. And then Joel Damon at 10-1 for a top 10, I think is something to look at. Again, he's 41st in the FedEx Cup standings. He needs a top 10 to play next week. He needs a top 10. And when Joel is motivated, that's what we do know about Joel. If Joel can get himself motivated, he can be a really good player. There are plenty of times though where I think he struggles to keep himself in it, like keep himself motivated. But I think he's going to be motivated to make it to Eastlake.
Yeah, I feel like this is a good week for him to be motivated.
Yeah.
If he's not, something's wrong.
You make it to Eastlake, you're automatically in every major, all the WGCs. It's a big deal, and obviously you have the chance to win a lot of money. I mean, I think even dead last wins like 300 something grand. So, and Joel loves money. So I think Joel is going to come out here ready to go. So a top 10 at 10-1, I think is good money for sure. You got any other top 10s or anything?
No, but I would like to do something I've never done on the podcast. Can I do something I've never done on the podcast?
Oh, wow. Sure. Be my guest. Who are you calling?
My son.
Oh, God. Ooh, is he going to screen your call?
He's going to screen my call.
Doesn't he know you're trying to make show history right here? Why are you trying to call him?
Because he's not doing what he's been told to do.
We're going to see Dad Pat come out?
Yeah.
We're going to see, what have you told him to do that he's not doing?
Harrison? Your dad is in the middle of a podcast right now, and I keep getting texts that you are not doing what you were supposed to be doing, that means being off electronics and going to sleep. So you better do it right now before I come up there in the middle of this podcast. Now. And if you go downstairs and Mom gets made aware of this, you're really going to feel the wrath. So you better get off right this second. All right. Good night. I love you. Go to bed.
That must have been pretty bad. I mean, you haven't done that in 5 years of us doing the show. It must have been pretty bad. I mean, you really got him though, man. I mean,
I know you're probably seeing me looking at my phone and all this stuff because my youngest son now has a phone now also. So all I'm hearing from him is he's not going to bed. He's not doing this. He's not doing that. So it's just driving me crazy. Yeah. Not quite sure what my wife is doing. But anyway, that's beside the point. Where were we? I don't have any top 20 bets, but top 10, the only one I'll bring up was, just off a good performance last week with the T11, Harry Higgs at 16-1. I think that could be an interesting play as a top 10,
I looked at that.
Type. So I like that as well. I don't have any top 20 if you got any, but
I don't.
I certainly
remember when I said that was when you were getting text about. There are a couple of head-to-head matchups though that I want to look at. First of all, I'm interested in Xander at even money with Bryson. I just like the form better, the consistent form out of Xander, the iron play, the fact that we're in a FedEx Cup event with Xander. I like his chances against Bryson. Number one. I can't say that one. I'm too scared to say that one. Let's see.
I got one that I really like
what you got?
Because I just don't think, as much as I think Patrick Reed might be a decent play from an outright bet, head to head with Harris English, you're getting plus 100 on Harris English, who's playing as good as anybody.
Wait a minute, are you really? That line's moved because I wrote that down different.
No, it's
Oh, I would
plus
love
100.
that.
I'm looking at it right now. I mean, I could be.
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah.
That's even better. He was at minus English was minus 106. Reed was minus 118 earlier.
Yeah, no, you're getting plus money on Harris English right now in the matchup.
Yeah, I like that.
So, I mean, I think that's a good matchup as well.
I like Ryan Palmer plus 100 against Kisner.
That one's close for me because I think they're both in really good form, but Kiz is probably the one that's like the most inconsistent of the two. So, which is weird to say because I think Palmer can be inconsistent also. But
yeah, he can be. Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I mean, I definitely think I think the line is right. I think Kisner should be the heavy favorite. I think the line is right. I just like betting. I like betting a dog that I like, and I like Ryan Palmer. So if he's a dog against a guy like Kisner that can go on a run, but then follow it up with a freaking T64 this week, I don't know. I like that one.
Yeah. I mentioned Gooch earlier as a bet. I like him over Mark Hubbard. He's matched up against Mark Hubbard. I think Hubbard's
He's
the
been
favorite.
consistent though, man.
I mean, Gooch is the favorite, but I don't know.
Hubbard's been Gooch is not the
No,
favorite.
sorry, Hubbard's the favorite.
Hubbard's been consistent, man. He's been he doesn't get himself in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
He putts great. That line, I get that. That line isn't as attractive to me as some others, but I think Louis Oosthuizen even money with Kevin Na is interesting, considering Louis' recent form, Na's propensity to withdraw, right? Oh, I guess Louis the same way. But Louis' recent form, Louis' distance is way more of an advantage here. I mean, that driver long and straight here versus Kevin Na, I just really like. I really like the even money there. And then the last one that I really like is a guy we haven't mentioned yet, and that is Corey Connors, even money on Brian Harmon. You mentioned Brian Harmon. You like Brian Harmon, but I was glad to see Corey have a good week last week at the Northern Trust. Kind of under the radar good week. And Connors is one of these guys that he tends to either he's similar to, I don't know, he tends to top 25 it or miss the cut. And he topped 25 last week. The irons have started to come back around. He had lost the irons a little bit. Leading into the PGA, he had kind of lost it a little bit. He's always struggled with the putter, but last week he was almost neutral with the putter. His best putting surface is bent grass. So I don't know. I kind of like Connors. I like that he gives you a better ball striking distance edge over Brian Harmon at even money. I'll take it.
I don't mind that. I like Harmon, but I don't mind that bet.
I was looking at some U.S. Open odds recently, Pat.
Oh, wait.
What?
I forgot about that. I was too, and I just threw away my sheet. All right.
Yeah, I just think it's a short field this week. We what else we got to talk about? Let's talk about the U.S. Open a little bit. Just some early numbers I'm looking at in the shorter ranges. We talked about it's winged foot. You got to be in the fairway at winged foot. It's a typical U.S. Open setup. Xander at 20-1 right now. You can get on DraftKings Sportsbook. Webb at 25-1. I've got written down. Finau at 40-1. I've got written down. And then two guys at 66-1. Scotty Sheffler. I mean, I think you could see another rookie win a major here with no fans. I mean, Scotty could have won the PGA. Playing as well as he's playing right now, his length, 66-1, and Louis is at 66-1. I looked at that number originally when I saw Louis, and I was like, why is Louis the same as Scotty right now, given his form? But when you think about Louis' performance in majors, he's like
Brooks Koepka light when it comes to majors.
Yeah, he's got the runner-up in every major. Yeah. He's been runner-up in every major. He's never, hadn't won one.
Yeah, he has.
Oh yeah, he has. He won the
Open Championship at St. Andrews.
Oh yeah, in a playoff. Was it a playoff?
Zach Johnson and Mark Leishman. No, Mark Leishman was Zach Johnson won against Mark Leishman. No, when when Usti won at St. Andrews, he like won going away. Like everybody was pissed because he was just hitting every freaking fairway and he never would make a mistake. So yeah,
I just think his record in majors, it looks like he's rounding into a little bit of form right now. Obviously we're a little, we're a few weeks away from this, but 66 to 1 is an interesting number. And then a long shot that's playing so good right now on the European Tour is Sam Horsfield, who just got him an exemption just got an invite into the U.S. Open this week. Sam Horsfield, young guy, won twice in the last 3 weeks on the European Tour. He's 150 to 1. I think that's an interesting long shot to look at right now.
So the ones I looked at, and again, I think it is interesting. Like everybody tends to bet, these, when we're looking at event to event, you're only going to get the odds out, that week. Like for this week, we just got them out, like, in the last day or two. But for the majors, you're getting them out early. So there's a good opportunity for you to kind of get in before anybody does something or the odds shorten or whatever. So I think that's one good reason that I like looking at like the U.S. Open this week. And I'm with you on Webb, like at 25 to 1. I think that's a good number for him. He's just played incredibly well since the restart. He's won a U.S. Open before. He's just got that type of, mentality to win a U.S. Open again. So I like that at 25 to 1. Another guy, though, 28 to 1, Berger. Like, he is just on a mission. He is just on a mission right now. He is playing good every single week, has never won a major before. I think he can, win almost any event he's teeing it up at. It doesn't matter what kind of course. So I like Berger this week. At the U.S. Open. I like Fleetwood at 40 to 1. I don't like how he's playing right now. I don't like that. But I think you're getting a higher number for him at
maybe
40 to 1 than you would if he had been playing good recently and showing good form. I think that's the reason I like Fleetwood, is not necessarily right now, but I think in a few weeks from now, we've seen him get a little bit better. He played a little bit better last week, and he's kind of figuring some things out. So I think that number's just good right now, and it could shorten up if we see better form from him in the next 2 weeks.
Well, but I also think you could sit on it for a second because, we did see him miss the cut last week. Or no, he made the cut last week. He just, maybe but he's out of the playoffs is what I meant. He missed the top 70 number. So he's not in there.
Yeah, he missed the top 70 number.
We're not going to see him the next couple weeks.
Yes.
Maybe those odds, I doubt the odds get shorter with him not playing over the next couple weeks.
But I think they're about as long as you could have gotten for Fleetwood. He basically just like made his odds for the U.S. Open as long as they could have been because of his play the last few
That
years.
is an interesting take, though. I like that call. I like that call.
And then you look at some longer odds guys. I like Billy Horschel at 100 to 1. I think he's another guy that could play well in this event. I like Ryan Palmer. I think did you mention him at 125 to 1? Yeah. I like him. And then Joel Damon at 200 to 1. Another guy that on a course that if he's, playing well, I think he's a guy you're getting a very long odds on. But so 200 to 1, Joel Damon, I like as well.
Love it. Little U.S. Open talk, little U.S. Open chatter. All right, let's get into the final segment of tonight's show, Pat. And this is where I just get to kind of sit back and take it all in and, for once, just kind of be a spectator here, and just respond. Tonight's final segment is Pontificate with Pat, where we just get random thoughts from Pat about life, about things going on, about things that come across his brain. We put a little blurb of these in every Wednesday night chalk bomb email because they provide no real value to you other than to make you laugh, because a lot of times they are funny. And so I thought, hey, Pat, why don't you bring some of those and maybe some new thoughts that you've got swirling around in that head of yours, and let's pontificate a little bit. Maybe we can help you work through something or solve a problem, or maybe not. Maybe we'll just be done with it. But let's see what's rolling around in that old dome of yours there, Patrick.
Well, there's a lot, but I'm going to go with some stuff that now you mentioned that on the chalk bomb, we put this in there every week. So some of these are from that, and then there's some new stuff kind of mixed in here. But yeah, I mean, you could chime in because sometimes I wonder like, what does DB think about what I just said and pontificate, but you never respond to it because
I don't really read it. I don't like
read it or care. But the
I
first
do
thing I
read
want
it
to talk
every
about
day.
is like we talked about last week. We mentioned stats that you want to know for each other, like what you do on a daily
Yeah.
basis, and yours was like sugar intake for me, which is not as much as you think. And here's my first pontificate is that I'm not a big pie fan. I think pie sucks. I don't like pie, any kind of pie. Like I don't even like apple pie. I don't like key lime pie is the worst.
Did you like American Pie?
That was a good movie. I like that movie.
Good pie.
But I'm not a big fan of any pies. And I think if you have lemon in your pie, by the way, it sucks. It's terrible. I'm never going to eat something with lemon.
What about peanut butter pie?
Peanut butter pie is okay. Pecan pie is the best. I'll put it that way. That's like the best pie out there. Peanut butter.
You don't like a warm apple pie with like a good crunchy crust and like a hot apple pie with a scoop of ice cream?
If you put it in front of me and it was warm and it was a perfect like maybe Breyer's vanilla ice cream.
Would you put your dick in it?
No, not like the movie apple pie. So, but I would probably eat it, but I just wouldn't be like all about, like, it wouldn't be like, I may push it aside. Because it might be a better drink. It's not a big fan of pie.
I disagree with you there. I like pie.
Except for pizza, obviously. I'm a big fan of pizza.
That's dumb.
Another thing that I thought about too recently is, and I hear this all the time, like, so my go-to browser on the internet is Safari, but I feel like people don't like Safari for some reason. Like, why? Like, should I be using a different browser than Safari? Like, do I need to be using?
Are you insecure about your browser?
Yeah, I'm very insecure about my browser.
You have browser insecurity?
Yeah, I feel like
dang, dude, that sucks.
Yeah, I wish
you got
like
that browser shame.
Should I be using like Google more or some? Is there some other like the Firefox? There's like a Firefox thing or
no, don't do that.
Something like that.
Is somebody browser shaming you at work? Do you need to call a hotline number or something?
I feel like I don't know, man. On Twitter one time.
I think Safari's just fine. I think you're overthinking that one. I will say, I think Chrome is nice. They have browser extensions, and I don't think Safari has those. Maybe they do. If they do, I don't know about them. But I think Chrome and their browser extensions are nice. But I definitely don't think you need to feel shame or inadequate using Safari.
Okay, well,
if you're using like Internet Explorer or Firefox, then I think yes, you should.
Okay, all right. Well, here's where I do feel inadequate. I only recently discovered Chick-fil-A sauce in the last year and a half.
Nuts.
And I remember, it was like a year and a half ago.
You remember where you were, don't you? You remember exactly where you were.
Yeah, and that's like a flavor.
Sometimes I have to pull over just thinking about Chick-fil-A sauce.
Yeah, when the flavor of Chick-fil-A sauce first touches your lips, you're like, that's something that I've never even thought could be possible.
Fuck me, Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A
right in the mouth.
Wait,
right in the mouth.
You already had good chicken and good chicken sandwiches and nuggets, but then you're gonna have a sauce on top of that that's gonna be that good.
Have you ever had chicken minis in Chick-fil-A sauce?
I'll dip anything and I'll put a damn. I don't know. I'll put anything in damn Chick-fil-A sauce. I mean, it is so good. I'll dip an apple in a Chick-fil-A sauce if I have to, or banana. I don't give a shit. That stuff is so good.
Would you eat a pie with Chick-fil-A filling if it was like apples?
If you had a Chick-fil-A pie, Chick-fil-A sauce pie with some apples in it and a la mode ice cream, I'd eat that. That'd be probably my favorite dessert.
Listen, so my son, the same 16-year-old, I had to get him underwear. He works at Chick-fil-A and he brings home. He likes to have a stockpile of Chick-fil-A sauce at the house just in case he needs it. So right now in my fridge, there are probably 25 packs of Chick-fil-A sauce right now. I could just go down there and lick that right now. Also, what's the difference between Chick-fil-A sauce and white sauce at a Japanese restaurant?
There's a big difference.
Really?
White sauce.
I think
Yeah,
it's
white
very
sauce.
similar.
No, I think white sauce
Dude,
is
it's
different.
very similar. Next time
And
we're
what's
together,
the difference? Another thing.
next time we're together, we're doing a taste test on that.
What's the difference
I
between
bet you
shrimp
couldn't.
sauce and white sauce? Because
It's the same.
some places call it shrimp sauce.
It's the same. It's the same
No,
thing.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
not.
it is.
But
And yum yum
it depends on where
sauce.
you go. Yeah, yum yum.
Well, yeah.
Yum yum is generic though. Like if you get to a place like
Shut
a
up. No, it's
Miyabi if you go to a place like a Miyabi or something, they got like their own special white sauce.
Well,
That
yeah, I'm
shit's
saying
good.
yum yum is the name of the sauce you could buy in the grocery store.
Now that one is not that much different than Chick-fil-A sauce, but there is a difference. I know sauces.
There's very little difference.
Are you questioning my sauce knowledge?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I taste tested you right now and I put some yum yum sauce and some Chick-fil-A sauce in front of you, you would struggle to name which one was which.
All right, we'll see about that. But speaking of Chinese, I want to talk about soup. I think soup is the dumbest shit ever. Soup is so like it's like first off, it's hard to eat because my mouth doesn't eat soup right. Like it always is falling out the spoon and shit's falling everywhere. And it's like, and soup is also it's a lazy food. Okay, it's a lazy food because it's like it's easy to make. People just throw shit together to make a soup. So there's like not a whole lot to do with soup. Like soup makes me mad. Like it makes me angry.
Is it lazy or do we overcomplicate other food?
Yeah, I think we overcomplicate it, and it should be just
no. So there you go. Like we overcomplicate other food, therefore we think soup is lazy. But what if soup is regular?
I think soup's lazy.
What if soup is just regular, and then we overcomplicate all that other shit? What if the cavemen were like, "Yo, grab me that carrot over there, grab me that carrot and put it in here with this rabbit."
No, because if you wanted to make a meal and you said, "All right, I'm going to make a meal and I'm not going to the grocery store to buy anything whatsoever. I'm just going to use what I have at the house." You're going to make a damn soup because you don't want to go anywhere and you're lazy.
Okay, so some would say
throw some water in there
on YouTube says that's efficient and resourceful.
No,
why do you hate soup? I don't like the Japanese restaurant soup, just the water.
Okay,
the mushroom water. I don't like that.
That goes into what I was going to say. An underrated soup is hot and sour soup. Whoever decided to make hot and sour soup is a genius because this is like two things that you would have never thought you would like together. And you got hot, spicy, and you got sour, and you throw it in. Now, I don't know what's in hot and sour soup because there's a lot of stuff in there. And I'm like have you ever eaten hot and sour soup? Like you eat something and there's something dangling out of your mouth. And you're like, I don't know what that was, but the whole hot and sour soup experience is good. It's a good experience.
I don't like it.
Now, another part of soup that if you argue with soup, if you argue with me, you are wrong. Chili is not soup. Okay, chili is just meat with beans and a bunch of sauce in it.
It's a meat sauce.
It's a meat sauce.
I agree.
It's not a soup. So don't tell me that chili is a soup. It is not a soup at all.
No, I agree.
It's not a soup. Okay. All right. So we're good. We're good on that. I feel like you have a comment.
No, that's it. No, go ahead. Okay. A lot of food talk.
One of the things that I thought about, this is on the chalk bomb. If you attached my body, okay, to some sort of apparatus that swung as fast as Bryson DeChambeau does and as hard as he does I'm like saying, like, if you took his body and like everything, all the numbers, analytical numbers and stats or whatever you want to go, and you put me on a machine with my arms holding onto that club just like this and just freaking through me, like put me through the ringer with Bryson's swing. Like, is there a chance, like my arms, like I said in the chalk bomb, that they might fall off? I don't think that's going to happen. But am I going to like dislocate? Like, are my arms going to dislocate from my shoulders?
Yeah.
If that were to happen, if you were to do that with his speed, I think so. I think there's going to be some serious injury involved.
Oh yeah. You would be you would be wheelchair bound for the rest of your life. I'm pretty sure. You would need to the next day, you would need to call a construction company to come build a ramp at your house because you would not be able to walk anymore. You'd be done. What really makes me laugh is thinking about you thinking about that. Like I could see you either you thought about that for the first time in one of two places. Either watching Bryson on TV, which is that's probably
that was it. Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, yeah.
And I could just see you thinking about that.
I was like, if you just like put me in his body or an apparatus.
Well, that's why he beefed up, as he said. Like, that's why I'm the size that I am, so that my body can handle what I'm putting it through when I swing the way I swing. That's why he beefed up.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, it's interesting to think about, like, if you put a normal person's body into that apparatus and you say, well, what's going to happen then? Is that person's, like, are they going to become paralyzed for the rest of their lives? I don't know.
I would pay a lot of money to if said apparatus existed. I would pay a lot of money to put you through it.
Well, I mean, another pontificate thought is, or I've talked about on the Chalk Bond, is I'm willing to give myself my own COVID test. So maybe I'll be willing to put myself through that. I don't know. Here's another, speaking of COVID, you cannot sneeze anymore. Sneezing is so frowned upon in this world in public.
Dude, like, the other day,
it's the most natural reaction to things. Like, you could have allergies, you could have peppers, you could have whatever else. You could have
peppers.
Like things that make you sneeze.
I'm sorry, I have peppers right here. This is a pepper in my pocket.
But you can't sneeze anymore without being looked down upon, like in public. I mean, not like by yourself.
I was at the gym on Friday. This happened to me on Friday. I was at the gym on Friday, and I literally choked on my own spit. I was breathing heavily, and I inhaled some spit the wrong way, and I got into a coughing fit. And I mean, I've actually pulled my shirt up over my mouth, and I was coughing like this, just coughing. And I've never felt. I mean, I may as well have stood up in the middle of a church service and pulled my pecker out and started whirling it around. I felt so judged and looked down on.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, that is a perfect. But
I kind of get it. Like, I'm not gonna lie though. If I'm not the one sneezing or coughing, and I'm somewhere and somebody I'm like, hey man, like.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it, but it's still like it's like crazy. Like that's like the world we live in. And I have bad allergies, so like I'm going to be an outcast for at least another year or so until they come out with it.
Josh Kistler on YouTube just put a funny vision in my head, going back to your being wheelchair bound. You be in one of those. I could see Pat in one of those lifts that go up the stairs real slow. Like you're sitting down in it, facing down the stairs, and you're just slowly having to go upstairs to record the show every night so you can get up to your chair. Oh man. All right.
I think that's it.
Is that it? Good
for
man.
now. I have other ones that I could bring up, but
I'm glad you're done. Oh, that was good. All right. Thanks, man. Thanks for letting us into your brain and seeing how things work. And thank you, the listener, for listening to the podcast. We'll be back next week to talk about Eastlake, to talk about the FedEx Cup finals. And then, hey, guess what? The very next week, the PGA Tour season restarts. Everything starts back again.
Yeah, back again. Napa Valley, Safeway Open, baby. I'll be drinking wine that week for sure.
Right back on it. I won't. I will be. Hopefully I have some vodka by then. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Give us a 5-star review if you've not done that before. We would appreciate that. 5-star Apple podcast review would be fantastic. It would mean so much. We read them all. And let's have a great week. My week can't be much worse in terms of picks, so I'm already excited. I'm already really excited about the week that I'm about to have. If I was my future self, I'm already really excited. So let's have a great week, Pat. And may your screens be green out there. See ya.